Hello everybody, welcome to the second session of Lesson 30.
Hello everyone, it's great you could join us again.
朋友们好，今天是第30课的第2讲。今天这一讲我们要复习一下课文，也就是对课文进行问答练习。然后呢，我们要讲一下间接英语，最后我们要学习对话。Now, let's have questions and answers. Here is the first question. What book is the text adapted from? What book is the text adapted from?
The text is adapted from the book Jane Eyre. The text is adapted from the book Jane Eyre.
Who is the author of the book, and which century did she live in? Who is the author of the book, and which century did she live in?
Charlotte Bronte is the author, and she lived in the 19th century. Charlotte Bronte is the author, and she lived in the 19th century.
What kind of day was it when the story took place? What kind of day was it when the story took place?
It was a cold winter day with dark clouds and heavy rain. It was a cold winter day with dark clouds and heavy rain.
Where were Mrs. Reed and her children? Where were Mrs. Reed and her children?
Mrs. Reed was lying on a sofa in the sitting room with her children gathered around her. Mrs. Reed was lying on a sofa in the sitting room with her children gathered around her.
Why wasn't Jane with them? Why wasn't Jane with them?
Jane wasn't with them because Mrs. Reed wouldn't allow her to join them. Jane wasn't with them because Mrs. Reed wouldn't allow her to join them.
Where did Jane hide herself? And what was she doing there? Where did Jane hide herself? And what was she doing there?
Jane hid herself behind the curtains in the window seat. She was reading there. Jane hid herself behind the curtains in the window seat. She was reading there.
Why did Jane become unhappy when she heard the voice of John Reed? Why did Jane become unhappy when she heard the voice of John Reed?
Jane became unhappy because she was afraid that John Reed would discover her. Jane became unhappy because she was afraid that John Reed would discover her.
How did John find out where Jane was? How did John find out where Jane was?
John found out where Jane was from his sister Eliza. John found out where Jane was from his sister Eliza.
What did John look like? What did John look like?
He was big and stout for his age, with a large face and an unhealthy skin. He was big and stout for his age, with a large face and an unhealthy skin.
What rude things did he say to Jane? What rude things did he say to Jane?
He said, You have no business to read our books. You ought to beg and not live with a gentleman's children. He said, You have no business to read our books. You ought to beg and not live with a gentleman's children.
What did he do to Jane that showed he was a wicked and a cruel boy? What did he do to Jane that showed he was a wicked and a cruel boy?
First, he put out his tongue at Jane and hit her hard. A little while later, he knocked her over with a book and grasped her hair and shoulder. First, he put out his tongue at Jane and hit her hard. A little while later, he knocked her over with a book and grasped her hair and shoulder.
Why did John cry for help? Why did John cry for help?
He cried for help because Jane struck him and probably hurt him. He cried for help because Jane struck him and probably hurt him.
What happened to Jane after that? What happened to Jane after that?
Jane was carried upstairs and locked in the red room. Jane was carried upstairs and locked in the red room.
According to what you've learned from the text, what kind of life did Jane have at Gateshead Hall? According to what you've learned from the text, what kind of life did Jane have at Gateshead Hall?
Jane had a miserable and painful life at Gateshead Hall. Jane had a miserable and painful life at Gateshead Hall. Well, that's all for the questions and answers on the text. Shortly, we'll move on to the grammar.
好，课文的问答练习就做到这儿。大家在做这个练习的时候，如果有些问题回答不出来，可以 listen and repeat， 先听后重复。好，下面呢，我们要来讲一下语法。我们对直接英语已经有了相当的认识，现在呢，我们要来了解一下间接英语。这个概念的基本意思就是被转述的话，它不用加引号。现在我们就来看看由直接英语变为间接英语时需要注意的一些问题。首先呢是时态问题。当引述动词为现在时形式时，间接英语中的动词可以保持它原来的时态。我们来看一下例句。
She says, "The film is interesting."
它的间接英语形式是
She says the film is interesting.
在这里 that 可以省略。我们再看下面的例句。
He says, "Jack knew nothing about this."
它的间接英语形式是
He says Jack knew nothing about that.
当引述动词为过去时形式时，间接英语中的动词时态呢，要相应的向过去推移。比如，现在时要变为过去时，过去时呢要变成过去完成时，而将来时要变成过去将来时，以此类推。好，下面我们来看一下例子。
You have no business to read our books, John said to Jane.
请看一下它的间接英语形式。
John said to Jane, she had no business to read their books.
这里除了动词时态做相应的变化以外，人称代词和物主代词也要做相应的调整。比如原句中的 you 要变成 she， 而物主代词 our 要变成 their。 好，我们再看下面的例句。
Your father left you no money, he said to her.
它的间接英语形式是
He said to her her father had left her no money.
好，我们再接着看另外一个例句。
He said, she will come.
它的间接英语形式是
He said she would come.
由直接英语变为间接英语时，某些时间和地点状语也要发生相应的变化。除了书上例句中提供的一些以外，我们在这里为大家再补充一些变化的例子，请大家看一下。 Today,
That day. That day.
yesterday morning,
The previous morning. The previous morning.
同样 yesterday afternoon 和 yesterday evening 也按同样的规则来变化。我们再看下面 The day before yesterday,
2 days before. 2 days before.
the day after tomorrow,
2 days after. 2 days after.
next week,
The next week. The next week.
同样 next month 或者 next year 也要做如此变化。我们再看下面 last week,
The week before. The week before.
now,
Then. Then. Well, that's all for our explanation of the grammar for this program. Next, we shall move on to some exercises on the grammar.
好，今天的间接英语部分呢就讲到这儿。接下来我们要做一些语法练习。
In this exercise, you are going to change direct speech into indirect speech.
下面呢，我们请大家看一些直接英语的句子，请大家把这些直接英语的句子改为间接英语的句子。好，请看第一句。Number 1. We are quite satisfied with your work, the teacher told his pupils.
The teacher told his pupils he was quite satisfied with their work.
Number 2. I have been away from home for over 10 years, she said.
She said she had been away from home for over 10 years.
Number 3. We won't be free tonight, the student said.
The student said they would not be free that night.
Number 4. I'm expecting a letter from my mother, Betty said.
Betty said she was expecting a letter from her mother.
Number 5. Tom said, I'm glad you did a good job, John.
Tom said he was glad John had done a good job.
Number 6. Louise said, I'm sorry I made such a bad mistake.
Louise said she was sorry she had made such a bad mistake.
Number 7. The monitor said, I hope such things will never happen again.
The monitor said he hoped such things would never happen again.
Number 8. This is the finest film I've ever seen, said Jack.
Jack said it was the finest film he had ever seen.
Number 9. I shall be the richest man in the world, the king said.
The king said he would be the richest man in the world.
Number 10. She must be ill, my friend said.
My friend said she must have been ill.
好，关于间接英语的语法练习就先做到这儿。接下来呢，我们要来学习一下本课中的对话。
Dialogue. Booking a room.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like a room, please.
Single or double?
Single.
For one night?
No, 2 nights.
With a bath or shower?
With a bath, please. How much is the room?
$68 a night, including breakfast.
Can I pay by credit card?
Yes, of course. Could you register, please?
Oh, yes.
Your room number is 403. Have a good stay.
Thank you.
现在我来对对话中的语言点做一些讲解。标题是 Booking a room。这里的 book 是一个动词，及物动词，意思是预定。那么 book a room 预订房间。此外呢，还有一个动词也表示预订，我们来看一下。
Reserve a room. Reserve a room.
下面我们再看几个例句，来看一看 book 这一动词的用法。
He booked 2 seats in that restaurant.
他在那家餐馆订了2张座位。
The flight is fully booked.
这次航班的票全已订完。对话中还有这样一句问话 ：How much is the room？ 意思是房费是多少？同样的意思在英文中还可以这样说
What's the rate? What's the rate? What's the charge? What's the charge?
To finish with, we'd like to read you a tale called The Sun and the Wind. 最后，我们给大家读一篇寓言故事。这篇故事的语言很简单 ，so try to understand as much as you can.
One day the sun and the wind had a quarrel. The sun said he was stronger than the wind, and the wind said he was stronger than the sun. Just then they saw a man walking down below with a hat and a coat on. The sun said, "Let's see who can make the man take off his hat and coat. If you can do that quicker than I, then you are the stronger." "All right," said the wind. "I'll try first." So the wind began to blow, but the harder he blew, the tighter the man held his hat and coat. The wind could not make him take them off. Then the sun tried. It shone quietly. Soon the man took off his hat and wiped his forehead. The sun began to shine a little brighter, and the man took off his coat. It shone harder still, and the man began to take off his shirt. Then the wind said to the sun, "That's enough. You are stronger than I."
Well, I think it's about time to call it a day now. So until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye everyone. See you again.